So I have recently been introduced to this thing on YouTube about books. Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm doing something kind of fun. I am posting this on February 9th because I was looking through my old YouTube videos because I was curious to see how long I've been doing this. I couldn't exactly remember. I've been posting videos on YouTube for about 7 years, but I didn't do my first Booktube video until February 9th, 6 years ago. And I made this video called Intro to Booktubing, and I did a tag, and I just think it's absolutely insane that it has been 6 years. And I thought today I would do that tag again 6 years later to the day, and I will show you my answers from 6 years ago compared to my answers today. A lot has changed in the last 6 years, obviously. My cat still meows when I'm trying to talk, but you know, it is what it is. I read different books. I have gone to college and I'm almost graduated. I graduated high school before that, obviously. Lots has changed in my personal life. Lots has changed about the way that I make videos. I have a camera now. I bought a ring light just last year, so really progress apparently takes me a while. I have these beautiful shelves I just got, and I read a lot more physical books. I read a lot more books. It's just been a really crazy ride, and I have loved making my account into a Booktube channel and really just getting to love books with other people. I made my Bookstagram, which I love as well. So let's get into this 6-year-old tag. So the first question is, how do you find out about new books? So 2021 me's answer is mostly through Booktube and through Bookstagram. I have a lot of lovely friends, a lot of incredible people that I follow on both Instagram and YouTube, and I get a lot of my recommendations from them, whether it be the newest historical romance that Jess from Peace Love Books is recommending, or it's, you know, a new fantasy that someone else is recommending. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head, but I get a lot of my recommendations from online. I really enjoy a lot of the recommendations I get, and I really love watching recommendation videos, especially since I am a little bit more aware of what kind of books I will like. It's easier to find videos that are recommending books more catered to what I think I will like. Now let's see what 2014 me said. Okay, the first question, how do you find out about new books? Okay, I think for me it's mostly through word of mouth. It's people telling me, hey, read this book. whether that's, you know, on Tumblr, or my best friend throwing a book at me saying, read it or I'll kill you. Not literally, I'm being dramatic. So the second question is, how did you get into reading? Now, obviously, this answer hasn't changed a lot from 2014 to 2021. I still say the reason I got into reading so much is because of my mom and how much of a reader she is. And I grew up around a lot of books, so I loved to read because she loved to read. And she is the reason I picked up the Twilight books, the Harry Potter books, so she really made a big difference in that. I also did spend a lot of time at the library as a child, both with my family at the public library and the library at school. There were, I'm going to sound like such a nerd, there were a lot of days in elementary school, middle school, and high school, well, specifically in elementary school, other kids would go to recess and I would go to the library and hang out with the librarian. I literally would like skip recess, and I would, because I'd ask the teacher, I said, can I go to the library instead? And they're like, okay. And I would go and I would help her shelve books, and I would read my book. She'd give me candy. It was a great setup we had. So yeah, that says a lot about my personality. So in high school or middle schoolish, I got my Kindle, which was a big game changer for me. For a long time, I just pretty much predominantly read books on my Kindle because I was like, I can wait for it to be shipped, or I can wait to go to the store, or I can order it on my Kindle for $9.99 right now. So I read a lot of books on Kindle, and I could bring my Kindle anywhere with me. There were times when I would read as I was walking to my next class. I literally would like hold my Kindle and walk and read at the same time. Yeah, I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, if you can't tell. Anyway, let's see what 2014 said about my history of reading. I think I say about the same thing. The second question is, how did you get into reading? That would be my mother. Yeah, she reads so much, and so I read so much. So the next question is, how has my taste in books evolved? Which, from 2014 to 2021, quite a lot, mostly. So there's still a lot of books that I read in 2014 that I would fully still consider favorites, like anything by Rick Riordan or the Twilight series, but my tastes have evolved quite a bit that I don't really gravitate towards any YA contemporary. At this point, there were still quite a few of those types of books that I was reading. They weren't even my favorites back then, but they're definitely something that I probably wouldn't even pick up right now. That sort of story just isn't something I really have any interest in consuming anymore. They're all still really well written books, but I just don't really enjoy them as much. I either will go for a fantasy book, but for the most part I look for romance in books. A lot of historical romances, fantasy romances, like even if it's a YA fantasy romance, that sort of stuff, because I like that happy ending and I like that formula sometimes, and I just really like those sorts of books. And I honestly think that's not that different from 2014 me, because I still loved romance as the main aspect of many books. That was always my favorite part. So I think while on the surface my reading tastes have changed, the foundation is still pretty similar in that I care most about a character-driven story. I need that plot there, but I care more about the characters and I care about their relationships and the emotions, and I like a romance, I like a love triangle, and I think I still gravitate towards the same type of story. I like a hero who is obviously a hero. I'm not a big fan of like morally gray characters. I like romance and I like an adventure. I like a travel story. And you know, I like some dragons and vampires. So I think my reading taste is kind of similar. I just happen to read a lot more now, and I do read more like traditional romances. Let's see what 2014 me said about this question. How has my taste in books evolved? Well, not much actually, even since like first grade. I guess one of the bigger things that's changed, I've always liked fiction, never been into nonfiction like at all. But like first, second, and third grade, it was like I really liked mystery, and not so much I didn't really so much like magic either. I wanted mystery, and so I read all, you know, like the not lame, I don't want to say that, but all like the mystery little kids books. And then fourth grade, I discovered In fourth grade, I discovered the Emily Winstapp books about the mermaids, and I discovered how wonderful magic could be. And then fifth grade, I read the Twilight series, and that's really when the fandom stuff started. And then that next year, you know what, in seventh grade, I read the Harry Potter series, and there was no turning back from that. So really, it's been fiction the whole time, but it's just a matter of now it's more fantasy. And like at this point in time, I am a little bit more open to anything. I will read, you know, Rick Riordan books, but I'll also read John Green books, and those are story-wise very different, but I love them both. So yeah. And I'm now actually more open to classics than I was before. Like 5 years ago, if you told me I had to read Romeo and Juliet, I'd be like, ugh, no. But now I'm just like, yes, let's read it again. The next question is, how often do you buy books? I think you can tell by the shelves behind me that my buying book habit has increased quite a bit. 2014 me did not have a job, so she didn't have any money to spend on books, so it's understandable she didn't buy as many books. 2021 me has a job. 2020 me was unemployed for most of it, but that, you know, is beside the point. I always always love to buy books. Now, I'm not someone who will just buy anything just to buy it unless it's a $2 historical romance. I do like to put thought into what I'm buying, and I'm a deal shopper. I want books on sale, used books, or that sort of stuff. Like, I don't really go into Barnes & Noble and buy a huge stack of books brand new full price. I'm just not that kind of person. I don't like to buy anything full price, to be completely honest. So I do buy a lot, but I buy a lot on sale, so I think that counts for something, right? I think I bought a lot less books back then than I do now, but I really do like collecting the books, and I never just buy something just to buy it. I do usually really want to read it, even if it takes me a little while to get to it, and you know, I have some spending money to do so now, so I have bought a lot more books, but let's see what 2014 me has to say about it. How often do you buy books? Well, in the store, not too often, because we don't get the chance to go a lot. Although today I did go, and I bought the Mindy Kaling book and all the Lord of the Rings books and The Hobbit. Yeah, I just spent quite a lot of money in Barnes & Noble. Whoops. But on my Kindle, I'm buying books all the time. Whoops. Like, probably way more often than I should, but... The next question is, how did I get into booktubing? So obviously the tag that I'm currently flashing back to is how I got into booktubing, and I talk about it a little bit in this old video. I started watching the booktuber, who is, I believe his name is Tiernan, and I think he still makes some content. He's not called the booktuber anymore, I don't think. I think he has a different username, and I'm pretty sure I'm still subscribed, but he's just not one that I regularly watch. And from there, I found Sasha Alsberg, A Book Utopia, Tasha from Tasha Polis, who else did I start watching? Banana and Poland Books, Christine I found, Jessie I found from Jessie Reader, Emma from Emma Books. I found all their channels, and that's how I loved watching them, and I found this whole community where people just talked about books that was outside of Tumblr, and that's how I found Booktube, and I started making Booktube videos because I wanted to do that too, because everyone else had this amazing platform to talk about books, and especially Sasha and Emma, I think, are two of the biggest ones. And I wanted to talk about Mortal Instruments like everyone was, because there was a movie coming out soon, and I had just read the first book and I loved it so much, and everyone was talking about it, so that was a big part of why I made my channel, and I think that's a big part of why a lot of people made their channel back in the day, was that Mortal Instruments movie coming out, or The Hunger Games, Divergent, all those big series really, I think, got a lot of people onto Booktube. I also, in the 2014 video, I talk about Cassie Jean or someone. I have no idea who that is. I have absolutely no memory of watching this person's videos. I should try and look them up and see if I can find them, and maybe I'll remember, but I think it was someone I followed on Tumblr. I was a very big Tumblr person back then. Like, I spent so much of my high school time on Tumblr. But I think it was someone I followed on Tumblr, and they maybe made booktube videos or shared other people's booktube videos, and I was like, hey, I could do that. So that is how I got into booktube. Let's hear 2014's explanation of how I got into booktube. How did I get into booktubing? Well, this tag. This is how it started. No, but the first booktubers I saw was the booktuber. And I watched literally like 400 of his videos. He doesn't have 400, but I watched a lot of them. I'm just like, this is wonderful. The next question is, what do you do when you don't like the ending of a book? Now, I don't know exactly. Like, there's not an exact reaction. It depends on what happened in the end. But I would say most of the time I go to Instagram and either put an Instagram story. You know what's crazy? Instagram stories didn't exist in 2014. That's insane. But I will go to Instagram and put on my story. Like, I will write a review on Goodreads or write a review on Instagram. And like, if it's something that really annoyed me, maybe I'll do an IGTV review or put on my Instagram story, like talking about the ending, why I didn't like it. Usually I'll just write a review or talk about it on Instagram and see if anyone else wants to complain with me. And let's get to my 2014 answer, because it's a lot less reasonable than me 2021 just writing a review. What do I do when I don't like the ending to a book? If I'm reading it in book form and not on my Kindle, I will throw it across the room. Like, legitimately just toss it. Like, I just get so angry. The next question is, how often do you look at the last page? Frankly, I never look at the last page. I never, like, if I open a book and I'm starting at chapter 1, I don't automatically flip to the last page and read the last page. Do I look ahead in books and spoil things for myself? Yes. It's a terrible habit I have had since I was, like, in middle school. I can't help it. I just need to know. It takes too long to read the book and find out what happens. Sometimes you just need to flip ahead and see if it's worth it to keep going, okay? It's a bad habit of mine, but it's not going anywhere. I look ahead to make sure, like, a character, like, in dual perspective books, like, if there's multiple perspectives, I'll look ahead and be like, okay, I'm sick of the character I'm reading. When do we switch? Who's next? So I have some motivation to keep going. Or, like, in the Throne of Glass series, I was deeply upset by some information in the beginning of Heir of Fire, and I did extensive Googling, not caring about spoilers, because I'm like, what's going on here? Like, let's figure it out. Spoil me, I don't care. Sometimes it's just sort of general knowledge in the book community too. Like, I know, like Rowan and Selena, like, that's just general knowledge that they're together. So, like, if that counts as a spoiler, that's something. So yeah, my habits have not changed. I'm really bad at looking ahead in books. I don't read the last page necessarily, but I may look ahead. And I've ruined things for myself a lot. Like, literally as recent as when I read Crown of Midnight. The death that happens in that book, I knew it, like, when I was only 50 pages in because I was flipping through the book. I'm literally the worst, but let's hear about 2014 me complain about the fact that I did this then too. How often do you look at the last page? I used to do it all the time. That used to be my, like, I used to always do that with, like, the Magic Treehouse books. Yeah, I read the last page first. And then I got to Catching Fire, and I read that last page first. And if you have read that, that's not a good last page. I still look ahead in the book and look, I should really stop, but I still look ahead for, like, oh, when's this character gonna come back? Oh, just kidding, they died, whatever. The last question is, who do you tag? I, back then, didn't have anyone to tag, but I guess I'll tag, I don't know, who should I tag? Crystal Bookish Life and Literary Critique Sam. If you guys see this and you want to do it, this is an old tag. I literally don't even know who made this tag because 2014 me did not credit whoever made this tag. Or even know what it was called, so I don't know who came up with these questions. But if you feel like doing a sit-down video and answering these random questions that 2014 me answered, go for it. Or anyone who sees this video and if you are watching this and you want to get into Booktube, do this tag and get into Booktube. Yeah, that is my video. I can't believe I have been on Booktube for 6 years. Not consistently making content, but semi-consistently making content. But this whole time I have loved reading. I have loved watching other booktubers' content. That's never changed. And I've just been having a really great time. And even if I am a very small channel in a very small corner of the internet, I'm glad that I have this, and I'm glad that I share all my love for books with you guys if you watch this, actually. But I hope you liked this video. I hope you enjoyed the blast of the past that is 2014 me. And I hope you like, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.